Uh, last time we met, we built a little tool that allowed us to maintain a list of users in HTML, right, in JavaScript, in the memory of the browser. But whenever we refreshed, any changes that we might have done locally, they were gone. There was no place for us to store it. So instead, today we're gonna work on making those changes permanent, right, on a server that's storing this in a database. So let's create here an HTML file where we can do some of our work. And here we had, I believe, had H1 users, and we had a list for the users, right? And the list, I think we called it user list, right? So what we would like to be able to do is grab this and populate it, right? The way we populated it was that we had an array, and in this array we were pushing and splicing from this array. Yes. And it was hard coded in the client. What I'd like to be able to do is instead go fetch data from a remote server, right? So let's take a look at what that might look like. First, let's set this up real quick, right? For jQuery CDN. Let's just copy that real quick. It was minified. It was this. Copy, and we can paste that down at the bottom, and we'll have our own script where you have source will be users.javascript, right? That's our controller, right? And in here we might have your users.js, users.js, right? So what we had here was an iffy function, right? That declared a couple of variables, right? We had the user list that was bound to the user list in the DOM, right? And we're maintaining a list of users here, right? With maybe username Alice, and we had username Bob, and then we iterated over that, right? In a main function that was invoked whenever the document loaded. Right? I think this is what we had. And in here we called a function maybe to render the users, and in render users, maybe implemented here, function render users. Just what it did is it's grabbed the list, it emptied it out, right, and then iterated over it, right? So for you and users, just iterated over it, right? Let user sub u, and then appended a line item, right? Something like line item implemented li that contained the ID or the username of the person, right? Something like li append the ID of the user the username, and then it appended it to the user list, right? Something like that. Okay, so let's navigate there. I think it was what is it? Localhost 8080/useradmin. I think it was users.html. I do append, maybe. Is that it? No. Let's take a look real quick. There's a console. Users is not defined. No, it was cached. So it was working all along. There was a console. Okay, favicon. Never mind that. All right, so it would dynamically edit. So what we'd like to be able to do is expand this idea, but instead of hard-coding the list of these users, is go fetch this from some server, right? And the server, we are providing the server for you. Right, so let's take a look at what we are providing you.